Welcome back in to the Sports Source. This segment is brought to you by A.G. Heinz Company. Do-it-yourselfers, you have a choice. You can overpay at one of the big national chains, or you can get the tools and building materials you need at fair prices from a 100-year-old local company. That's right, they're based right here in downtown Knoxville. Start your next project at A.G. Heinz Company. They have everything you need for your next home improvement project at A.G. Heinz Company. All right. Let's welcome in the last group of panelists we have. Josh Ward, right here from 99.1 The Sports Animal. You can hear him Monday through Friday, noon to 3.
That's right.
It's one of those days, Josh. Thanks for being here, man.
Thank
Sterling Hinton, former Vol, and of course the maestro over at Neyland Stadium, who whips the crowd into the frenzy. Sterling Hinton, and right there, Chuck Cavaleris, longtime member of this panel. Chuck, thanks for being here, bud.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What did we learn from yesterday's game? Specifics, plays, players, position groups, coaching decisions. Josh, I'll start with you.
I think we learned that Josh Heupel is going to use all play opportunities for all 60 minutes because the game was not in doubt, but there was no doubt to Josh Heupel we need to keep putting up yards and points, and they threw a bomb down the field to Squirrel with Joe Milton in at quarterback, ran it in when they could have ran the clock out, but they wanted as many points as possible. And I think that we're going to see that over the next couple of weeks.
Okay, so your take is you think it was for – this is good. We can debate this. Do you think it was from style points?
That would be my first guess. There could be underlying reasons as well, but I think Josh Heupel wanted as many yards and as many points and to be as impressive as possible in the end with the scoreboard.
Thoughts on why he did it?
I think part of that is when you put some of the backups in, we're going to let them play.
Yeah.
You put Joe Milton in, not just going
Even
to let
with a
him
minute
hand
to
off.
play.
Yeah, I mean,
throw it 70 yards.
and there could have been some other things to it, but I mean, I think that's as much as
What other
anything.
things?
Well, I think there's some ill will there somewhere in the background with Missouri. And I also think Josh Heupel might have been upset about some of the extracurricular stuff. He kind of hinted around about that. A couple of the horse collars, a couple of the late hits. Pearl noticed some stuff. If you're going to let your players take shots like that, we're going to score every chance we get.
I love this because anytime in the past when somebody's running up on Tennessee, I don't remember Tennessee fans sitting there going, well, we did horse collar. They were mad at us for this or that. These are the things you do when it's your team running it up. Sterling, what was up? You had no problem with it, so why?
My reason, I just think it was just getting reps for guys that were behind the starters. You know, that we've seen where our Heisman hopeful quarterbacks taking some shots. Mm-hmm. So we need to make sure that our guys that are coming in can stay in that rhythm because still the expectation's not going to be lowered if someone else gets in there and has to play. So I think that staying in rhythm as an offense is important.
There were thoughts that he might have wanted the Missouri job. He'd been the offensive coordinator, went to UCF for 1 year. I saw some people speculate that perhaps he wanted that job and didn't like them giving it to Drinkwitz. Here's the problem with that. There's nobody at Missouri who was there that made that decision. The AD's gone, the president's gone, half the staff's gone. So that's, if he was running it up on him for that, I don't know what it was about. A lot of people thought it might have been Drinkwitz in the offseason, went on Jim Rome and took some shots. People took it at Tennessee about my record's going to change because Tennessee may have to vacate some wins. But those were shots about Jeremy Pruitt. I don't think any Tennessee fan would really.
There's the keep our name out your mouth.
People are doing the Will Smith thing, and I don't think that was it. I think it was probably more style points. But Justin, I know as a former coach, you were watching the handshake at the end. It looked like Heupel was saying something pretty normal to him. May have been saying playoffs. But I noticed as you did, he kind of patted him on the Drinkwitz, patted him on the shoulder, moved on. It didn't look like bad blood.
Seemed very cordial to me. That's what I had my eyes fixed on. I can't believe I was glued into the ending of a 66-24 blowout. But I wanted to see that handshake, and it seemed like two guys that had mutual respect for each other.
I wish there'd been a hot mic somewhere out there about the end where you could just pick up and hear what was it.
Drinkwitz said after the game that he coaches his team, I coach our team. I've not got issues with their team and what they do, which sounded like a terse way of saying, yeah, I've got issues, but I really don't. Or vice versa, reverse that. As a defensive coordinator, or just as a coach on the other sideline, how much would that have ticked you off? How many times have you been on the side where you've run it up on somebody?
Been on the wrong side of it more than I would like to be, but I think, you say it's our job to stop them. That's your obvious answer. I also say, had I been on the other end of that, in my opinion, I would have chose to kneel on the ball, but that's just me.
Okay, that'll do it. All right. Anything else that we learned yesterday?
I learned this is what happens when you average 9.7 yards a play. And Brew McCoy, a season high in targets.
Oh, man.
And that over-the-shoulder catch, he also led the team, was what I had it down here, the 9 catches for 111 yards. So
He and
you
I
get
both
him
over 100.
going, and you can have Hyde off the slot. Watch out with everything else this team can do.
Mr. Earl, anything else stand out to you?
What stood out to me is how much and how natural Hendon is inside his offense. I mean, people watching the first half thought we were struggling, and you look at his numbers, you say, whoa. I mean, we've been spoiled this year, but a guy that's actually a magician behind that center this year. And I'm thankful he's on our team, not on one else's.
Including Virginia Tech.
Tennessee's we recruited Squirrel too, by the way. That's true. That's a true story. Yeah, that's a true
Two of them
story.
had one of them on the team, one of them committed and turned it up.
Another good evaluation.
Yeah. Tennessee's a top 4 team. They're one of the best 4 teams in the country. They belong in the playoffs. Obviously, there's work that they still have to do. Maybe get some help for some other teams, but they're one of the best 4 teams I've seen.
Okay. Let's separate that out a little bit. You got Georgia, who I think is clearly the best team in the country. What about Michigan and Ohio State? They haven't played the schedule yet. They really just play each other this year. But do we put them up there with Georgia? Is Tennessee closer to Ohio State and Michigan, or is Ohio State Michigan closer to Georgia? In other words, if it's Georgia and Tennessee, where's Ohio State Michigan? Closer to you or closer to Georgia?
Tennessee is closer to Georgia. But what's going to happen if Georgia, for some reason, loses the SEC championship? I think it's going to be the first time they're going to put Ohio State and Michigan in the Final Four, and Tennessee's going to be out.
But supposedly there's only a 5% chance of that. Of what I
It's
saw.
a 5%. I don't think Georgia's going to lose, but I think it's going to be the first time they're going to try to make a statement to the SEC.
I think the issue that we have is we've seen the Big Ten be put on that stage, and other than Ohio State in 2014, it's not gone well for those teams, and we can't unsee that. It's really hard for me to say that either of those 2 teams are as good as Tennessee, but that's why we play the games. I mean, because we'll have to
And
find
the question
out.
remains, and Bob Hodge pointed this out, I think, when Ohio State and Michigan plays, if that's a close game, how far does the loser fall?
That's a good tease, because next we're going to talk about playoff scenarios, and I got 3 different scenarios for you. And we'll talk about if this team beats this team by 1 point, if this team loses by 14, what happens? Does Tennessee get in? Does this team get out? We'll break that down next on the Sports Source. Come on back.
Miss an episode? Catch up at sportsource.tv or our YouTube channel.